Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. We are about to start in Janas another 1 to 2 minutes. Just hold on. Okay, so hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this particular webinar session on reference management tool for easier thesis writing. Okay, so I welcome all of you from on behalf of the Learn to Upgrade team, and it's really good and a pleasure to have you over here. Uh, okay, so hello, everyone, and a very warm reference management tool. All right. So I'm about to start the session now, and let's get introduced a little bit before we start the technical part. My name is Jitesh Doshi, and I'm going to be your instructor for the next 1 hour to tell you about some of the useful reference management tools and the key ideas behind them. What exactly do we mean? What are the important parts of the thesis, and how we go forward with the computational or bioinformatics or other tools. Okay. Now, the reference management is a very integral part of the thesis that you write for any of your work, whether be it your master's thesis, be it your academic reports, be them any one of your research publications during your research career, or any other important document that you're writing. So this is going to be a very important part of that. And it's important to learn how to properly manage all of these resources that we are using during our work, and that's where the reference management tools comes into picture. So let's start from the very basic. We are going to talk about essentially some basic introduction which goes into this. What are basically these references? What are the differences between the types of references? We'll talk about a basic thesis structure and where exactly the references come into picture. Let's try to understand this through some examples over here. Then we'll talk about various commonly utilized styles of citations which are used for referencing. And then we will continue the discussion on various kinds of tools available, what are the differences, which one you should choose, and so on. Now, at the end of this, we will spare some time to understand these concepts through demonstrations. So we are going to look at one of the tools in detail, understand how to use it, how to successfully import all of those references, and make sure that you manage them very well. So we will talk about that through example of Mendeley, right? So let's start the particular session. Now, there are few important announcements are there before we start. First of all, at any point, if you feel that there are some questions which need to be answered right away, kindly feel free to write them in the chat box at any moment. As soon as I go over them, I'll answer them. If you have some other questions and that you are not directly related to what we're talking, you can definitely keep them for the end. We'll have few minutes for question answer at the end, so we can get those resolved. Another important announcement that we are all currently in a very difficult phase and a difficult time where, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the things are getting very bad almost everywhere in the world. Considering this, the Learn to Upgrade has lots of various courses which are offered, and currently during this particular time period, till the time you are getting this lecture or listening to this particular webinar, there is a discount which is being offered for all of you, and that discount can be availed at learntoupgrade.com on all the courses. There are multiple different types of courses which are available on the website. The molecular docking, computer-aided drug discovery, next generation sequencing, clinical research, and many, many more, like artificial intelligence and so on. So those of you who are really interested in learning these things, you have a discounted rate till this particular webinar continues. So kindly go to the website which is given. Also, there is a contact number for the helpline. In case you have any kind of queries, you can definitely go that. And at the bottom, you can see this particular code, the COVID-30, which you can use as a discount code to avail the 30% discount on the courses. I'll again come back to this slide at the end, so you can note down the website as well as the contact numbers plus the coupon code that you can apply over here. So let's start. Now, I assume that most of you are from many different kind of academic backgrounds, and no matter which field of academics you are from, whether it's a science, whether it's arts, whether it's anything else, you still require these tools to be used in an appropriate manner. Now, thesis writing essentially pertains to that aspect of your academic career where you report your findings, where you report your efforts that you take for a particular project in a certain way. And that's what is thesis is all about. Thesis contains essentially the output of the work that you have carried out, or any findings that you have found from your research projects, or that can also be a compilation of the knowledge in an appropriate, systematic, and readily distributable manner. So all of these things can be written down as a part of your thesis. Or around thesis, we have many similar other documents which can be there. For example, we have articles, journal articles, which includes the research publications, which includes the review articles, which includes some small kind of communications that you can have. So all of these are very important part of the communication of your research or any other work that you want to publish to the world, and other people can use it. Now, when you're writing this part of the of your work, you're also making use of many other things which are available on the internet, public domain. So that will also be very important to consider here, because when you want your work to be cited or credited by someone, you also need to credit or cite the work of others that you're using. And that's what we'll talk about for this. Let's very briefly go about what is the common structure of the thesis, or in general any document which describes these kind of findings. Well, this is a very generic. It may vary a little bit depending on what kind of data or what kind of work you are producing. So it starts with the title page, wherein you will be giving a particular title to your work. It will define the problem statement that you're working on. It then follows the abstract, which is kind of a very small summary or summarization of the work that you're doing, which kind of gives a glimpse of what to expect from your rest of the work. And that's what creates interest in readers to go forward and actually read the rest of the document. So abstract is also very important. We are not going to discuss every aspect of thesis because that will take a really long time. Then follows the table of contents, where you can list all of the things systematically, link them to their particular page numbers in the document, so it's easy for someone to quickly find the data or find the reports that they're looking for. Then follows the list of figures and tables. So if your document contains multiple different figures, multiple tables, they can also be listed as a part of the contents, so that people can directly look for a particular figure or a particular table and reach there. Then follows the introduction. This is again a very important part of any scientific or any work document, which sets a background, an appropriate background for your work. It explains in detail what exactly that you're looking for, what are the aims of your study. They also explain the background behind it through earlier work that has been done, what kind of data currently is available, what solutions are available, what are the gaps or lacunae in the current solutions, and why you are proposing a new work or a new hypothesis over here, and how that can be helpful. So all of these things are combined into the introductory part of your work. Then follows the methods and materials, in which you explain what kind of methods, what kind of techniques you have used. If you have made use of any kind of a data in this document, then from where you have collected this data, what are the different sources, have you collected on your own through some work or a field visits or a survey, or have you collected this data from the databases which are publicly available online, so or any books or any literature. So that you have to explain. Then follows the result, whatever observations you had from your work, your experiments, that you explain in the results. Based on these results, you propose a discussion. That is your interpretation of the results. What may be happening in the background of these results, why we are getting certain kind of things, what is the probable hypothesis, and so on. Then follows the conclusion. So you give your concluding remarks as to, okay, this is what we have done, this is what we have found, and this is how it can be useful, and this is what we conclude from our work. So it is kind of a ending statement or a closing statement for your work, to go about and explain to the reader what exactly your work has accomplished out of all of these efforts. And then there are some small but still important kind of sections of your thesis, which include the recommendations. Again, they may not always be present, all of this, but at importance. For example, if you have proposed a new hypothesis stating that, okay, this is a particular correlation, let's say for a particular disease and some kind of a drugs, so what kind of people should what kind of drugs. So you can recommend your recommendations from your knowledge, from your expertise, from your observations in that, or anything else that you want to recommend from your work that needs to be changed, you can put down into the recommendations. Then follows the acknowledgements. If you have taken any help, a small kind of help from anybody else apart from the main authors of the publication, then you can cite them and acknowledge them that they have helped you. That's a really good ethics in research and as well as academics, to cite or give credits to person or people who deserve them. So sometimes even small help from someone can actually give you much more insights into what you're doing, and then that needs to be acknowledged. Acknowledgements can also sometimes include the funding agencies. Many academic and research work is incomplete without appropriate funding from different government or intergovernmental or interinstitutional funding agencies. If you have taken any kind of a funding from any of these agencies to perform your research, to do your work or experiments, you would basically be writing their names or acknowledging them into these acknowledgements. And then at the end and also during the document is what the part of references comes into picture. And this is where you list every other document or every other resource that you have used to be able to perform your work. And that's what we will be talking about, how to manage those and how they are very important. Sometimes the thesis may also follow the appendices. There may be some extra data, extra work that you might have done, which may not be directly relevant, but it may be used by some people for some other conclusions or reproduction of your work. So most of these extra things, they can be kept as an appendix for the end of the thesis. So this is for a generic structure that we have for a thesis. Now, if it is a research publication, of course, it will be a little bit shorter document. So you may not have the table of contents, list of figures or list of tables. You may not have all those things like recommendations and all, but other things will be there. If you're writing a chapter in a book, or if you're writing a book, again, most of these things will be there, but not everything. So depending on what kind of work you are doing in your projects, that will basically design this particular workflow. But these are some key structures within the thesis that used to be available. Now, thesis, actually, you might have already heard this word. If you are a PhD student, of course, you will be writing a thesis very soon. If you are a master's student doing a master's project, you will have to write your thesis. But apart from thesis also, even if you're doing any kind of academic small project and you want to write a report, these tools can still be equally useful in that matter as well. So for any scientific or work related document or a work product that you're giving, wherever you have used any data or any information from some sources, it's important to properly cite them and organize them in certain manner so that people can make sense out of it and easily access those documents. So let's talk about the references. There's references. Basically, there are three terminologies which are very much interlinked to each other: citations, references, and bibliography. So we'll talk about each one of these things, understand what does it mean, and we will see some examples and the demonstration of the tool. All right. So first of all, citation. What exactly citation means? Citation in any of these documents is basically a reference to a specific source that you have given. Essentially, you are pointing a reader to a certain source from where you have appropriately taken that information. So, for example, if you are writing some data, let's say, usually these plants which live in a certain kind of area produce more number of oxygen than others. So this is the statement you are making, but have you conducted those experiments? You may not have. You might have taken it from somebody else's research. So you have to put a citation over there wherever you are making that statement to appropriately link to that source from where you have got this information. This increases the credibility of your work because you have taken it from another resource which have done the experiments by themselves. You blindly putting that statement over there. Citations are also important for recognizing the work that is done by others and giving them due credit, because you would also want them when you write your own work. It's also important to have your research integrity plus honesty. That is important part of any research work. And ultimately, the citations basically make sure that the work that you are using is not considered as a plagiarized work or under the plagiarism. So you have taken some data from someone, but you are appropriately citing them in your work, so that that does not make it a plagiarized or copied work. So citation essentially is nothing but an abbreviated expression which is inserted in any scholarly body of work or any intellectual body of work to cite or credit the original source of that information. These citations often denote a particular entry in a list of references which you attach at the end of the work. We'll see some examples. And there are multiple bodies to this citation. Citation is basically means referring or giving the credit to someone. And there are multiple components for this, which we will talk about. So what exactly that we include in a citation? When we cite some information, cite something, what exactly do we do? So citation essentially includes two parts in most common cases. So what exactly that we include in a citation? When we cite something, what exactly do we do? Citation essentially includes two parts. The first part of it is an abbreviated reference at the place of the source, wherever you are mentioning those statements or that information. And the second part is an entry which is linked to that particular abbreviated reference at the end of your document. So these two together make a citation. So it may include things like some unique identifier like a numbering system to include that. It may include things like the name of the author from whom you have taken the work, title of their work, the publication date, the publisher who has published that data somewhere, link to the website if you're taken some information from the website. So all of these or many other things can come which are relevant to uniquely identify that particular reference or that particular piece of work you will include in your work. The contents may vary depending on what type of source you're using. So for example, if you are chapter, you will have a different kind of structure. If you are citing a journal article, it will be different. If you're citing a website, it will be a different way of writing that things. If you're citing some presentation, some interview, some video, it will have its own different way of identifying. And so many different things are there, and that's where we will see how these softwares can help us in managing all those different resources. So when I say that it is made up of two parts, the abbreviated reference at the place of mention and an entry into the list of references. So here you can see this particular example. So this is the piece of the original work that has been written as a scientific document. And as you can see, for example, this particular statement here, the data used in this work was derived from this particular database. And they have given an identifier to for this particular statement. Now, this identifier essentially links back to the list of resources. As you can see, it is number 12 reference. And in the list of references at the number 12, it essentially will have the details of that work. So you can see the authors are included. Then the year of publication of that data included. The name of the or title of the work has been included. That is an updated benchmark of changes in protein binding, energy, kinetics, and thermodynamics upon mutation. The name of the journal in which this data was published. Then it includes the maybe page numbers or volume number or issue numbers, which are part of that particular publication. Those are included. So we have to have a very specified format or a structure to report all of this information. And that's where we'll be using this software. So whenever you are citing the information, what things you should cite and what you should not cite and how you should cite them. So what to cite? First of all, if you're taking a direct quotation from any of piece of work or any body of work, it's important that you cite them with the quotations or quotation mark. So quotation mark will explain to the reader that these statements are exactly as it is word to word taken from the source author, and you have not made any changes to this particular statement. That's what direct quote means. So if you're using any such things, direct statements as they are, you should use this. Then any information in your work which is paraphrased or reworded from any other sources. Often the paraphrasing or rewording is done either to condense the matter into a short, condensed, or compressed statement, or to fit it into your style of work, what the way you are writing rest of the things. So even if you are paraphrasing or rewording anything said by someone else, it's important you cite that. Any data, any results, or any conclusions you are taking from anybody's work, that should also be cited appropriately. There are also a few things which you did not cite. For example, your own work. Okay, so if you are using your own work to write something, you don't have to cite it unless it is published. So if it is published already in some other article, in some other resource which is publicly available, you can of course source that and put it into your reference so that people can go back to that reference and check what you have done there. But if it is unpublished, you don't have to cite it in some other way. You can simply just write about it that these are your own findings. If there is anything, a very common knowledge that, or basically something which has been established as a precedence for a really long time, and you don't really need a proof to say something like that. So for example, plants give oxygen. Now it's a very well-known statement, and we know that for years of our scientific history. So you don't need to cite something like that, which is already a common knowledge. You did not cite it. So these are the things you should not cite in your documents, but others you should. So when it comes to the citation, as I mentioned, there are plenty of different parts or different types of them. There are many styles as well. So citations can be given in a different way. One part of the citations are called as in-text citation. So while or during writing the text, we basically cite a certain aspect of the work that you're doing. In-text citations often follow two different types or styles of writing. That is the Vancouver style and the parenthetical notes or parenthetical text. We'll talk about the examples of this. Sometimes citations can be given end of page citations. So those include footnotes and sometimes endnotes. And citations also include end of paper citations, which include the list of references and bibliography. Okay, we'll talk about each one of this example, and we'll try to see how do they differ, what are the definitions of those and differences in those. So citations, first of all, let's talk about in-text citations. So as the name suggests, in-text, that means within the text, these appear somewhere. So this is the example of in-text citations. So as you can see here, the two different documents are given and the citations are given in a different way. In the first document, as you can see, the citations in red, which are given as numericals. So you have your number 1, number 2, 3, 4, etc. So this kind of a style of writing the citations in numbers, it is called as a Vancouver style, what I have mentioned over here. And the parenthetical notes, parenthesis means basically the brackets. So these notes are written rather than writing a number which may not always convey everything, but they are anyways linked to the references. In this style, what we do is we include some details of that citation. So for example, in this particular style, we have used the author name and the year in which this data was published. So here you can see the same citation. Instead of using numbers, we are writing Trott and Olson, Peterson et al. 2004, and these are others. So even you can write multiple citations. So if the statement comes from multiple publications, you can also include all of them in one particular parenthesis. So these are called as parenthetical notes. Again, there are various styles of writing these notes and so on. These are called as in-text citations. They are coming right within the text, and these are the, of course, most common in your thesis as well as publications. Most preferably in publications, it will always be there. Then we talked about the end of page citations. Sometimes, especially in if you look at the books or book chapters, you can basically see what kind of information is added, and that can be added at the either as a footnote. So footnotes appear right on that page. So whatever on in whatever page you have added this information or added the reference, basically you will be getting at the same page the information about that. So you don't have to go to the end of the document to find out what that reference is all about. So for example, here as you can see, there is a statement: interaction between the alleles is key in regulating vast majority of phenomenon observed in 3 major species of Arabidopsis. So this is a statement which is observed a fact. So where does that fact come from? So here there is an inclusion of a number, the superscript called 1, which is in red. So what does it mean? Where have we taken that? And that is added as a footnote at the end of the page. That is, this particular reference belongs to research carried out at whatever institute of this and this by this, whatever the publication or the data will be. The endnotes are also similar to the footnotes, just that often they are given at the end of a particular section. They are not present on every page, but they are present at maybe present at the end of the certain section or end of the document. The endnotes are also they are given at the end of a particular section. They are not present on every page, but they are okay. There are 2 questions. Let me just go through them. Is it possible to share flowchart stepwise of a paper? Well, I'll try to do that, but our main aim is to learn about the software, but that protocol I will share definitely. Okay. Is it possible to share flowchart stepwise of a paper? Well, I'll try to do that, but our main aim is to learn about the software, but that I will share definitely. All right. So endnote and footnote are very similar. Just endnote are written at the end of a section of a certain document, or even that can be written at the end of the document itself. So it very similar to the footnotes. It includes the references or in-text citations just like this, like superscripts, small superscripts. And then at the end of the section, you can include the list of those details and mention where exactly you're taking this particular data from. Then comes the end of paper citations. So after you have cited so many things within your document, it's important to list them properly with as much details as possible. And this we usually do by adding either a list of references at the end of the paper or end of the thesis or end of the document, or a bibliography. Again, the list of references and bibliography are quite related. I'll explain the differences with that. So examples for that, it's something like this. So for example, here you can see this is a piece of work from a publication. So molecular docking studies were performed using autodoc vena. Then there is a number, and then all other things are there, so many. And at the end of the document, each one of this will be explained in detail. So for example, this reference number 1, it actually is a part of this particular study or this particular research, that is autodoc vena improving the speed and accuracy of docking with new scoring function and so on. then this 3-4 belongs to these studies, and so on. So this way, at the end of the document, you will be adding the list of references in a prescribed format by the journal, or whatever is of your own choice or preference, you can use it. And often bibliography and references might seem the same. It's just that bibliography, the difference between the bibliography and this is that bibliography can sometimes also include some extra information apart from the things that you have cited. So we'll see that going forward. Now, in each one of this, you might have seen that there can be some different types of styles as well. And there are many different established systems of citations available, which are devised or described or popularized by different institutes, different groups. So, for example, some of the common styles include AMS style, APS style, Chicago style, CSE style. We'll see the examples of these. So, for example, the AMS style, it was basically described for the work which was done in the fields like humanities or literature or others. So depending on the domain of your work also, these things can depend, like which style you should use. Then APA or American Psychological Association. Basically, these are the things related to the social sciences, psychology. If any of these things are reported or studied, then they often follow this style of writing the citations. Chicago style is most preferentially used for the purpose of historical documentations, historical research, and related things, social studies, and so on. But still, it can. These are cross-domain. They can be utilized by anybody. It's just that there is a preference which is set for these. CSE style is basically for all natural sciences, whatever it's physics, biology, chemistry, and others. Apart from that, there are many other styles, Harvard style, and so many others. So, if you're writing a document for your academic institution, it's a good idea to ask your advisor or ask your institute that what is their preference for writing these citations, what kind of things. If you're writing a publication or an article for a certain journal, then you have to check with the journal documentation as to what type of styles do they follow or do they prefer, and accordingly you have to cite them in your document. Again, looking at all of these things, it may look like a lot of tasks to handle, but let's see how that can be easily managed or easily handled by the softwares. So references and bibliography, as we mentioned, the references basically is a detailed listing of all the citations you have used in text. Often they are written in alphabetical order, but there are some journals which may prefer them to be added in order that they appear in the work. So that way also you can write these statements or references. Bibliography are, of course, contains all the references plus any additional source that might have been used in the work but not directly cited. So, for example, you might have heard some video which you cannot directly cite in a work, and from that you have got some idea or inspiration or some information. You can use it as just link of that you can give in a bibliography. If you read some book which the citation for which is not available or is very generic ideas or generic inspiration that you've got from them, you can directly write the name and details of the book in the bibliography, which you might not have cited in a specific statement in your work. So that list, we call it as bibliography. So more or less they are very same. It's just that bibliography might add some extra things like websites and so on that can be added. So websites and all you don't directly cite in the text unless it is absolutely necessary, but you can do that as well. So now when we looked at all of these things, there are many tools available for us to get these things readily available and properly handled. And these softwares are called as citation managers. So citation manager essentially is a tool which is used to create, manage, and store different citations. The aim of these citation manager softwares is to ease the process of adding, linking, converting, tracking the citations across documents and across different people who are accessing the documents. All of these softwares, also known as reference management tools or bibliography management tools, so they have these capabilities to understand the citations in the most commonly used formats and process them in your documents as per your requirement. These are some of the most popular tools available for you to do the citation management or a reference management. One of the most popular one is Endnote, which is developed by the Clarivate Analytics company. And this tool is paid, it's commercially available. There is no free option to use that. This contains many useful functionalities, which is basically useful in the documentation, thesis writing, managing all these things. Another one is Mendeley, which we will be talking about in a demonstration as well. Mendeley is developed by Elsevier. You might know this particular company as a journal publishing company for many different scientific journals. This is a free of cost software. So it allows you to freely manage all of these things. And it also provides you with a cloud storage of around 2 GB to store your information, to your references, to your PDFs, and so on. If you want more than that space, then you have to buy the premium module, but free is good enough for most common purposes. It does require you to create an account with Mendeley for free, and you can use this through desktop version, the web importers, the applications, and the plugins in different types of softwares like Microsoft Word and so on. We'll talk about those. It's available for all operating systems, so you can easily make use of that. Then there is a RefWorks. RefWorks is also very popular, especially it is popular at the institution level. Again, it is a commercial tool and it is paid tool. It's not freely accessible, but often it requires an institute to buy the subscription to this software. So if you're working in an institute which already has the subscription to this software, they will of course provide you with or share that subscription with you, and then you can use it in your work. So it contains many useful tools like web-based tool is there, browser accessible importing plugin is there, Word and Google Docs plugin, which makes it really popular, because whether you're writing your documents in a Word or a cloud-based Google Docs, you will still be able to use them appropriately in citing your work. Then there is Zotero, which is also freely accessible tool, and it is very similar to Mendeley. It also has the similar set features. Only thing is, on a cloud base, it provides a very limited space. That is the free up to 300 MB, and again, rest of the space you will have to buy on yourself. It is a multi-platform again, just like Mendeley, that is can work on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and also it can support other browsers like Firefox, Chrome, and Safari. It also has some embeddings available for offline work in your Google Drive or Dropbox folders if you have them, and that can be used. But it's not available for documents directly like Mendeley. So these are some of the common, and apart from that, there are many others. There is a BibTeX, or basically the LaTeX, which is used for document writing in scientific way. There are reference manager. There is SciRef or citetext. So many others are there which you can use. Then there changes depending on your work. You can use that. The facilities which they provide changes. So as we will be talking about the freely accessible tool, that is Mendeley, which has most of the important features we do require for managing our research, our literature survey, our search on the internet, everything. So that is a really good and useful tool that we can talk about. All right. So now let's look at the demonstration of this particular tool, that is Mendeley, and see how can we use this tool in actual work. Let me open the software. So first, let me show you. So this is a website to the Mendeley. It's basically the reference manager by Elsevier, and which provides you all necessary things that you need. You can create an account over here, and once you sign in, you'll be able to freely download the reference manager for your desktop purpose. Once you download the software, you can open it. This is how it looks like. I'll explain how the software works, what are the key components, and how to use it. It has three major components. One is this desktop version or desktop application that you can see. Then it contains a web importer, which allows you to import the documents directly from the website you're visiting. And I will show you how to install that. It looks something like this over here, as you can see. You can install it in any web browser like Edge or Chrome, Google Chrome, and so on. And Another is called as Word plugin. So if you're using Microsoft Word, the Mendeley also comes as a plugin, a reference plugin for managing your work through the Microsoft Reference Manager. So these are the three components we'll be talking about how to use them. First, let's talk about the Mendeley. So just to give you an example, let's go to our publication database and search for some useful papers. Okay. So let's say, for example, I'm opening this paper from the Google Scholar. This paper basically is published in Scientific Journal of Molecular and Cellular Proteomics. It has published on this date. These are the authors and all. Now, if you want to cite this article in your publication, you will have to write all this information in a particular format. But that's not important. You can actually import it. So when you want to add these references or anything over here, you can use this software or importer. So let's talk about all of these features one by one. First, let's talk about the desktop version of the Mendeley Reference Manager. This software has a very easily accessible, very user-friendly interface. When you open it, on the top, you have a basic menu bar to add different files like PDFs or citation files and so on. You can also add a folder containing your papers. So if you have collected a lot of publications for a particular research in a folder and you want all of them to be added as a references, you can directly add them and so on. You can also add the entries manually one by one. We'll see that. Then it has some useful other tools like, the web importer and MS Word plugin and so on. So on the left hand side, you have see your own library. That means you see your own papers that you have added. It shows different folders and so on. You can see the list of all the authors so far you have cited in your work in alphabetical order. In this middle work, you see all the publications that you have added to your library. Right hand side, you can see the details. So when you select any one of the paper, you can see the details of that publication over here. And if you want to write your own some of the notes, you can always do that. Here you have things like adding or creating new citations, creating new folders, syncing the data from the cloud. As it is a cloud-based application, you can sync the data across devices, and then some help which is there. For the first time when you open this, of course, you will have to sign in with the same account that have used to create on online and to be ready. So how do we add this information? How do we add a citation? One way is very traditional or kind of manual way. You can click on this button called as add entry. When you add entry manually, so you can basically write all the details. So for example, what type of work you want to cite. Let's say you have read some book which is not online but as a hard copy of the book that you have used. So you can go to the book, then you can write the title of the book, authors of the book, in which year it was published, which pages you are citing, what is a summary or abstract of the book if it is available. So whatever information is available, you can put. Okay, so you can here put the book title, then you can put the names of the authors, whatever are the names. The most important information includes the title, the author names, then the publisher which has published, the date of publication. If the book has some URL or a website, you can include that and so on. So once you create an entry of all of these things, you can then save it, and that entry will be generated as a reference, as a citations in your library. The library is very useful because it allows you to store everything related to the same project into the same document. On the left hand side, you can see there are various types of libraries we can create. So for example, the default groups include all the documents recently added, then recently read documents, your favorite documents that you have labeled as your favorites that you oftenly cite or use, things which might need further review. Your own publications will be there. If the data is unsorted or not kept in any specific folder, that will be shown here, and you can create your own folder. Okay, so for example, we are going to create a hypothetical project that you're going to work on. Let's say we want to write a review about different types of cancer therapies. Okay, let's say we want to do that. So what you can do by clicking on the new folder, we can create a new library which is called as cancer therapies. So what this will achieve is that all the publications related to this project you can put right over here in this. So it will be easy for you to search the publications that you have used for certain project. So this is one way you can create the library over here. Once you create it, then all of the publications you can show here. Now let's talk about how to start adding these references automatically through web importer. That is the next application. So first of all, it asks how to install the web importer. So you can go to the tools menu of this particular software and click on install web importer. Once you click on that, it will open the your web browser which you use, and it will ask here for get a web importer for the browser. And once you click on it, it will install the plugin, install that web importer as a plugin to your browser. As soon as it is installed, you should see this kind of a Mendeley symbol at the top of your window. So as you can see in my Edge browser, I can see here Mendeley browser. Even if you use Google Chrome, you can still install it and you will see this kind of a Mendeley web importer over here. So this means that your web importer has successfully been installed onto the software. Now, before using it, you can again open it and sign in to your own account that you have used, so that everything will be synced to the document or the application that you're using. Now, how do we actually use this and store the information? So let's say I want to, the hypothetical project that I have taken is a cancer therapies. So let's go to Google Scholar and search for that. Okay, cancer therapies, for example. And once you search for it, you will get a lot of different publications. Let's say you have, okay, so one of the paper here is the improving the efficacy of antibody based cancer therapy. Let's say it looks interesting, so you are reading it. So while you're reading the publication, you think, okay, this is something interesting and this you might want to work on or use it in your studies. So what you can do now, you can click on this button here called Mendeley Web Importer. It will automatically detect the publications or whatever information is there on this. So as you can see, it has automatically detected the main article, that is improving the efficacy of antibody-based cancer therapies, which is seen. It will check whether the PDF for this publication is freely available anywhere on the internet or on this page. If it is, it will also automatically fetch the PDF. For this, suppose it's not available, so it says PDF not found. If on the same page, like for example, here you have other references, other publications, so those also you can see over here. And if you want to import any one of them, you can select it right away. On the top, you have option to select which library you want to save the publication in. So I will select the one that we just created. First, okay, why it's not showing here? I might have to refresh the Mendeley. Yeah, let's try to add it again. Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. I need to sync this first. So I have created here a new folder. So when you sync this particular folder, this will be synced with the cloud version, and whatever information is the cloud version, that will be synced with this application. So when you're looking for this page and you go to the Mendeley, it will again do the same thing. It will detect the publication that you're looking for. And then here in the list of libraries, you will see that your cancer therapist library has created. So you click on that and say add. Now what will happen? This particular publication and the details, the journal name, the authors, everything will be automatically added to that particular library, which you can come back to your desktop application, sync it, and you will be able to see in your this particular folder. So as you can see, a new entry has been automatically added. The author names are there, the title is there, the year is there, the publication journal name is there, and then when it was added to your own library. On the right hand side, you can see the abstract and some other useful information, the link to the paper, and so on. So this is one we have added. Let's say we want to use another article which has let's take the one with the PDF. So let's say this is another review article, looks interesting, alternative and complementary cancer therapies. So you can open that. Yeah, okay. And then you can click on again web importer. It will again automatically detect the main publication which is available on the page. It can say that PDF is already available, so it will automatically import the PDF. Here you can again select which library you want to use for saving this data, and then you can add. Uh, okay, there is a question that can this list be shared by email or other option? Yes, there are plenty of options to export this list in various formats. I will come to that. I will show you how to share the list, because this is also good for collaborative purposes. So you can share the list amongst your colleagues and other people involved in your work and so on. So that can be done. I'll show you. Okay. Okay, so we have added another review. So wherever you, even if you know that review is a journal article or if it's a PDF, you still will be able to do that. So you can, I think, yeah, it's already added. So again, you can check over, go back over here, sync the data. As soon as you sync, the data will be synced between the cloud and this application, and you can see second entry has been added over here. So this way, all of this information can be stored very nicely into all of this. Let's say you're not a journal publication, but you are going through some other article online on a website. Let's say cancer therapies. Let's simply search on the internet without going for a publication. So this is a website from the National Cancer Institute. Now, this is not a journal or research article, but it's just a website which shows the listing of all of this. Let's say you also want to cite this particular website because you have used this list into your data. So you can also cite that. You can click on this. It will automatically take the reference of the types of treatment and the website link and everything. And you can add this to your data. So this way you will be able to import all sorts of references that you have used or that you want to use and so on. Let me take the one with the PDFs. Let's go back to the Scholar search. Okay. Yeah. So here there is another one. This particular paper is about, okay, it's again a nature paper. Okay, let's say there is another paper you are reading online and you would like to add this to your list of citations. Even though it's a PDF file, you still will be able to do that. You can again go back to the Mendeley importer over here. It will read the document and detect the things. It will find if the PDF is accessible publicly. If it is accessible, it will give you that. Then you can add this data to the same library. Okay, now as you can see, the PDF has also been added. The reference has also been added. If you go back to and then again sync with your cloud version, you will see that this particular is available. The PDF icon has come. That means document available. So you can actually read this right within the software of Mendeley. Whatever things you want to cite or mark, you can directly highlight them. You can share this along with your colleagues, and you together also can highlight the document. So everything will be saved within the same ecosystem. So it becomes easy for you to manage it, easy for you to understand. Like many times you have to go back to a certain things that you might have felt important. So if your things highlighted right here in the reference, it's easy to you go back and show that. So you can do that, save information on the PDF directly and so on. So all sorts of things that you go do online, you can easily use it over here. So that's the job of web importer, to find on the currently open web page what references are available, what things are available, detect them and give you the listings of those. And then you will be able to select which references you want to add to your library. This way you will add it. Now we have done some research. Okay, we have added few things, we have read everything. Now it's our time to write something, write the information and use these citations in this. Okay, there is another interesting question. If the PDF is not available on the journal page but obtained from elsewhere, is it automatically located during the addition of the reference to the library? Yes, it tries to find. It does not try to find on any illegal sources like Sci-Hub or anything else. It will not go to any unpublicized or non-public sources. But if only it is freely accessible in a public domain, only then it will add. Otherwise, if you have the PDF from your own search, you can directly go over here. Let's say, for example, go to the paper and you can attach the PDF on your own. So you can go to files and select the PDF that you want to attach, and that will be associated with the data. So that way also you can add the PDF and it will be added over here. That can be done. but it will try to search the PDF for this reference as in the most common publication resources. Okay, so now we have done all of this and how to write the document, how to keep it handy, and how to make sure that we are using it very efficiently during our writing phase, during our thesis writing or publication writing phase. So there is one useful tool which is available in this Mendeley, which is called as MS Word plugin, Microsoft Word plugin. As you all know, Microsoft Word is one of the most commonly used program document writing word editor to write the documents with much more complexity. So you simply have to go to tools and click on this button called install MS Word plugin. As I already have it installed, it says that uninstall MS Word plugin. Once you install it and you open the Microsoft Word, you will be able to see the plugin under the references tab of your MS Word. So if you go to the references, as you can see here, the new plugin has been added called as Mendeley Cite-O-Matic. So this Cite-O-Matic plugin will help you achieve writing documents in a much more efficiency and citing your research in a well-watched way. So if you go, if you already have read all of these publications, of course, you would know a little bit about it, like what statement you have taken from what and so on. Okay. So the first publication that we used was the efficacy, improving the efficacy of antibody cancer therapies. Then we had about alternative and complementary cancer therapies by Chapman and other types of cancer and so on. So let's say you're writing your report. Let's start writing something. Let's say introduction. And you have started writing. Let's say antibody-based cancer therapies can be improved with the help of so and so. You're writing statement. Now you have taken this from somewhere and you want to cite it. So how do you cite it? So what you can do is simply you can go to this reference manager and click on insert citation, or a shortcut key is Alt plus M. So what you can do, simply click on Alt M and it will automatically open the Mendeley search bar right within your Microsoft Word. And whatever you want to, like, you can search by author or title or anything. Let's say we are looking for those antibody treatments. So you can, let's say, search for antibody, and automatically all the articles within your library that you have saved will come here. So here, as you can see, the paper we added, that is improving the efficacy of antibody-based cancer therapies. So once you click on this and say OK, it will automatically add this citation right over here. Let's say we go for another statement. Various types of cancer therapies used here are taken from NCI. So you have taken this data from the NCI repository and you want to cite it, for example. So and you want to cite multiple. So you can again press Alt M. If you want, you can also limit the search for a very specific library, but it's better to search everywhere. So here you can search for multiple. So first, let's say NCI. Okay, not NCI, but cancer therapies. Okay, so here you can see that alternative and complementary cancer therapies is what you want to use. So you can click, and let's say you want to add another reference. You are not able to remember the name and all. Again, you can go back to your Mendeley and find it, but you can always use that. And then you can say OK, and that also will be added. So this way, while writing itself, you will be able to add everything to your web page. Now, as you can see here, if you look at the Word plugin, it has options like insert citation. You can refresh, you can export the citations, you can insert the bibliography. We'll talk about, open the Mendeley from here, and the style of writing. So currently you can see these are numbering styles. As I mentioned, these are Vancouver styles. Let's say we are using the text based or the parenthetical notes. You can use this, that is Chicago manual, for example, is another style. So you can see now the references will automatically be changed to that. So you don't have to work hard. So if you, for example, submit your paper to one publication in a certain format and it is not accepted, you want to submit it to another publication in another format, you don't have to work hard. Just open this toolkit and change whatever you need and then refresh. So it will automatically take care of all of this. So this way you can, all the references in the text you can use. So let's say, for example, cancer, I am now citing a software where uh, let's say this is a database we are having. Again, you can right away go for M, search for a particular thing that you're looking for, and then simply cite it. You can give for another whatever. Even if there are more than one type of studies you want to do, you can always do that. And then just say, okay, and all of this will be added together. So once you have done writing all your document, then is the time of adding the final references, which is a list of references or bibliography. Again, it's very simple. All you have to do is simply click on this button called Insert Bibliography. The moment you do that, it will automatically track every article which is present in this text, and it will, okay, yeah, it will add the list of all those publications. As you can see, it has automatically taken one by one, and it has added them in an alphabetical manner. So it becomes very easy for you to use all of these things. So this is basically just a very small demonstration to see what we can achieve with these kind of tools and make our documentation, our research, our literature survey very efficient and use them in your daily writing activities. So you don't have to always remember or go back and keep on searching again and again for the same stuff. It's right there in your own library, in your own folder, and that way you can always use it. Okay, there is another question. How to integrate the word Mendeley plugin into the MS Word? It automatically is done. So I can show you again. So what I'll do is first I'll uninstall it from my. So first of all, make sure that your Microsoft Word is closed. So now I have uninstalled it. So if I open my Microsoft Word and go to the references, you won't find anything here. It's the basic citation which is given by the Microsoft Word are available. That is manual citation. Now you can go to your Mendeley desktop, click on Tools and click on Install MS Word plugin. So after it does, it says that citation plugin for Word is now installed. You can say OK. And now when you open the Word again, you will see in the references, this plugin has been integrated over here. This is the way you can install it. Okay. So this is a very easy way of managing your research, because usually when you do a project, your literature survey is going to be really huge. Lot of things you're going to read about and so on. So that will help. What about Linux OS users? Well, this particular plugin, that is Mendeley, is currently not available for Linux because Linux does not support the Microsoft Word application. But for that, you can try another one, which is I think Zotero is the one which has the plugin for LibreOffice as well, which you can use on Linux. On Linux, we use LibreOffice, that can be used, or you can then otherwise you can use the commercial tools which can be integrated directly into Google Docs for easy. All right. So I think, yeah, that's all, guys. So that was just a very brief introduction to how to manage your references, what to look for, and why it is important. It's a very short introduction, I know, but this will improve your writing efficiency and managing your references and everything at the end of it. And if you're writing a complete PhD thesis, definitely this is a boon, and that you can use it for managing these things. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. Now I can take some questions. Again, just to reiterate what I have said, if you're interested in looking forward to any other courses on the website Learn to Upgrade, please go ahead, use this particular tool. And if you have any queries, just go ahead and contact the number given on the slide, and you will be able to get more information. Okay, so there is a question. If we click cited, is this indicate reference? Okay, I didn't understand the question, but what I think is in the document, if you're talking about, if we click cited. I'll come to that. So again, there was one more question asked earlier, that can we use this list to share or email or anything? Yes. So Mendeley, you can basically select all the articles that you want to use. For example, this entire you want to export. So you can basically select all of the references that you want, and you can export this through various ways. So first, you can export it as a BibTeX format, that is a list of all the references in that format. You can export as a research information system format or XML format that can be easily imported into other documents or other softwares which support this file formats. So that way you can get this list. Similarly, the citations you already have used in a document, that is a Word document. Again, I will use some of those. And you are inserting the bibliography. If you want to export this as well, only the ones which have been used in the document, you can directly export them as either compatible with LibreOffice, so you will be directly able to import them, or simple without Mendeley fills, you will be able to do that. Can you please upload this recording in the app? This will be available the app as well as on the YouTube live. So if you go to the YouTube channel of Learn to Upgrade, you will find this recording right there. All right. Any other questions, any doubts, feel free to ask them. Okay, there is another question. If while writing a document, we include details without a reference unknowingly, is there a way to check for those? Well, there are plenty of, if you're talking about whether you want to find out whether the text has been taken from somewhere or not, you can check for plagiarism. There are plenty of plagiarism softwares available like Turnitin or Viper or others. So those can be used to find out from where those texts might have come from. But again, those are all commercial. I don't know of any free tool to do that. There may be some, like Grammarly provides 1 or 2 documents for free, for example. So they will give you the list of places from where this data might have come from potentially. So you can check those. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this. I hope you have got some idea about how you can use these tools into your work. Another question is how to avoid plagiarism while entering table values from review article. Uh, okay. So while you're inserting a table, again, it's a good idea to refer to the table directly. The table and the figures usually are not taken as a direct plagiarism as it is taken for a text. They are collected or studied differently. So if you're taking a table from somewhere and just below that you have a reference, that's good enough. But use the complete reference, because if it is not a plain text, it will be considered differently in actual plagiarism software. There are some free softwares which take look for every word as it is, but that is not the correct way of computing the plagiarism, the percentage overlap and all that. So well, when you're using actual academic softwares, they will look at figures, tables and text differently. So for tables, you can just keep the complete reference as it is. It won't come up as a lot of overlap. Again, the reformatting can be done if you want to anyways avoid using it. So for example, often some tables in some review articles contain a lot of information, but all of it may not be important. So you can restructure the table and only use the columns or references that it is important for, or others. Sometimes what happens in a given table from a review article. So what happens in these cases, the table itself is consisting of information from various other resources. So when you're getting this table, kind of a table in your own article, it's a good idea to add another column, and that is a reference column. And for each one of the table value that you have taken, if it is coming from a different type of resource, then you can also give the references for each one of those individually. That will also reduce your inclusions of those values into the plagiarism overlap computation. The reference for a table means the reference for a publication only. It will directly go to the document reference only. It's not there is a separate way of getting the table or figure reference. Maximum what you can add as an extra information is a table number in the given document, but that's not really necessary. It won't be taken as automatic input into Mendeley or other software. The recorded session is available on YouTube. You can simply search by the same title of the meeting on Learn to Upgrade channel. You will find the recorded session of this available. All right. Okay, you all are most welcome, and all the very best to all of you. Thank you so much, everyone, for asking some interesting question and keeping this session interactive and alive. So thanks again, and good luck, everyone. Stay safe, stay protected in these times, and hope to interact with you soon in some other courses. So thank you all, and goodbye. Take care, everyone.